What's up, guys? Ian here from Mid-America Prep. Thanks for tuning in and watching. So I'm out here in my backyard, also known as the old urban garden section of my house. Man, this year's been extremely wet. So all four of my rain barrels are full. So I have four 55-gallon plastic drums that are full of rainwater. That one comes directly off the house, and that's kind of nice because then I can run it down here and I can water the old garden here. And then I have these three that come off of this side of the shed. This one gutter here actually feeds these pretty well, and they are all full right now. We've got pushing like 9 inches, 10 inches of rain in the last 2.5, 3 weeks here where I live, and that's great, except for the fact that in the Midwest we are having a stint of extreme weather, a lot of flooding, and a lot of just tornadoes and bad weather. So I just wanted to kind of update you guys on my garden for the year. Last year I started, and then I did not finish the updates on the garden just because it's a garden. Nobody wants to know that kind of stuff until they do. So I'm going to turn the camera around and we'll show you what we've got going on this year and why I've changed some things up. Right, so here is the garden this year. There are some changes compared to the past 2 years. This will be my third year having a garden in this backyard. I won't be able to get a new one in next year because, well, I won't be living here for a whole lot longer, another year, but in the garden season I will not be planting a garden in this spot. So the last 2 years I have filled this entire thing up with all kinds of stuff, and I started doing a more of a lasagna gardening style this year, and there's a good reason for that. Weeds are not my friend this year by any means, so I wanted to go ahead and figure out how to do it. So last year actually I started off with 3 separate layers of newspaper and grass clippings throughout the summer, and that got a really nice base to the ground. Weeds will still come through that, but it kind of just breaks everything down, and it falls and makes your soil nice and fluffy, and puts all that stuff back into the ground. I know a lot of people will do like layers of newspaper, manure, straw, newspaper, cardboard, that kind of stuff. This year I'm just doing layers of obviously the ground floor, the topsoil, which was nice and fertilized from last year, and then over the winter mellowing out. But I did a mixture of the straw to begin with, tilled it all up, planted my vegetables, got a nice even ground floor, and then I have so far on top of that 2 layers of the straw. So that is I think it came out to 4 bales of straw at $6 a bale. That's not too horrible. I mean, I know I have some friends who have straw that can give me, but I don't want to tote it in from the country, and it's not all the greatest stuff either. So anyways, I just got done yesterday laying out another layer, and then in about a month and a half I'm sure I will do another layer. You can see the color differences here. Unfortunately, with all this rain that we had, I didn't catch the straw bale that I had over here next to the shed in time to not let it get wet, and so this was put out here. This lighter colored stuff was laid on the ground end of April, and then that bale that is now darker there that I spread out got wet, and I put it inside, got moldy, and that did not help my case. And so I went ahead and threw it out here last night, and then of course we're getting more rain, so it's not going to dry out today, but it will get there. So I'm doing more of a perimeter type gardening here. The problem is, in the years past I've done rows. On my screen here, I've done rows of stuff, and so my tomatoes are over there, and then I had rows of squash and zucchini, which are actually over here this year. And then I had a row of okra and a row of Brussels sprouts. This year, I want all of this inside to be open. That way I can walk in through here, actually walk to all my stuff, and not have to worry about stepping on vegetables and killing plants and stuff. So we'll start over here on the southernmost point. In this corner I have 2-year-old establishing asparagus. I'm going to weed out this later here on the day, and my onions. But asparagus, I planted this last year. It is really nice and tall. That's about 3.5, 4 foot tall right there. The problem is it is not establishing enough to pick it. And so how those roots come up, it just takes 3 or 4 years to actually get a good bed of asparagus going. So I know next year when some changes are made, this is going to be one of the first things I put in is asparagus, and a lot of it. Then I have white onions. These are white onions that I actually planted last year and then left in the ground. I do pick these for a salad or cooking with in general. If you follow my Instagram, I'm sharing pictures of what we're cooking all the time. So at Mid-America Prep is where I share my stuff at. These onions, some of them are golf ball size, some are smaller. There's a good chance that by the end of the summer I won't go through all of these, and there'll be some nice big bulbs, which is perfect. I am also, every time I pull a white onion, replacing it with another white onion bulb and or a yellow onion bulb, so they'll kind of cycle through. It's working out great. I've got more onions actually over here between the cucumbers and the green beans. So these are more yellow onions right here, and that's just planted a week ago. So they are coming up nice and tall. I've got more onions through here, along with some perennials. Actually, these are annuals, sorry. They're just to attract the bees and some other bugs, just to help them pollinate, along with a nice dill plant. I've got probably 6 or 7 volunteer tomato plants that I'm going to be transplanting this afternoon. In fact, here's one right here. I'm going to be transplanting this. This is a cherry tomato plant. There's another one right there. I love tomato plants. The problem is this was actually the site of a cherry tomato plant that was a volunteer last year, and it was about 5 foot wide and about 5.5 foot tall. Produced so many cherry tomatoes. Obviously they fell and pollinated themselves, and they're growing because I have tilled my garden back and forth in all directions, and those seeds are spread. So that's why I have so many volunteers. Okay, so we'll go over here real fast. I have some bell pepper plants. These are actually yellow bell pepper plants. These are actually yellow bell pepper plants, excuse me, and then green bell pepper plants. This one right here, the rabbits got a hold of it, so I'm going to have to go ahead and replace it soon. I'm sure it's not really growing very much and should be much taller right now. In the front, I've got 8 Brussels sprout plants. I have done 4 the last 2 years, and we go through the Brussels sprouts very, very quickly. I love Brussels sprouts. These stalks get to about 3 foot, 2.5, 3 foot tall. Unfortunately, they do kind of vary out in the directions they grow, so it is it is one of those things that you have to be careful to walk around, make sure you're not doing any harm to the roots and plants that may be around it. But want to go ahead, and we got some more of those planted because we love them so much. In between all of our plants here, we do have some flowering plants to attract bees and to help pollination, and it just gets some nice color in the garden. You can't really tell it in the video here, but actually I can't even tell you the name of these plants now. I took the tags and I threw them away. But this one right here in my viewfinder is a orangish red. That is orange, and that is red. Just to, like I said, pollinate and get some good color. This right here, while they look like weeds, is actually a patch of random garden seeds. It was like 50 cents at Walmart, and I literally just dug the ground up, threw the seeds out, and they're nice. They look like weeds, but they are going to be flowers. Hey, look, another volunteer tomato plant. Those will be flowering out nice and well. I've got a cherry tomato plant that was with a start. This is from Bonnie. This is a Sweet Million. These are about 1 inch around. Got some little ones right there. I'm about to do some really good support here soon. We've had so much moisture, and I think it's just going to kill the roots if we don't support them right. And then a Roma tomato plant that was taken over by rabbits. Hopefully it'll come back. Another Roma tomato plant. These are all by seeds planted directly in the ground in March of 2019. So actually they did get a cold frost, but I covered them up. And then these are beefsteak, also planted by seeds. In between each of my 5-gallon buckets, which these aren't full 5-gallon buckets, the bottoms are cut out. I have annuals planted. That way, actually, no, they're perennials, so I can go ahead and till them up. But these will grow, and I planted a nice row between each bucket. That way, they'll grow, they'll flower out, and look, another volunteer right there. They'll flower out and provide a nice bit of color for the tomato plants, also kind of coinciding with everything. Right here I have, these are squash. No, wait, what is this? I've lost track of everything. I lost my tag too. Oh, right here. This was zucchini, sorry. So zucchini and yellow squash. And right here I planted 4 banana, no, not the banana squash, my goodness. Spaghetti squash. 4 spaghetti squash seeds. Only 2 of them came up, which is fine. They are extremely large plants. And I have these hog panels over here that I'm going to go ahead and set up here in the middle so they can trellis up that. As you can see, I do have a nice trellis up and over these plants. That will help support these roots, and then the vines that will come up and over, and hopefully they'll hang down. I've seen this multiple times. So this is my first year trialing that. If that works, I'm going to continue with that with my gardening. The old sunflower plants here. Unfortunately, when I was weed eating yesterday around this, my weed eater caught the trellis and chopped off the head of this plant. But these are the great sunflowers. So these sunflowers will grow to be about 12 to 15 foot tall. Now mind you, this is 6 foot, no, 6'2" right here. I'm 6 foot tall. The overhead power line here is 15 foot. So these roots and the stalks are going to be huge and be towering over, hopefully. So they're supposed to be 12 to 15 foot tall with a 18-inch head, I think it is said. That is huge. So hopefully it can do so. Hopefully the wind doesn't knock it out, but I have some growing in here that I planted later, and then this one hopefully will come back. I have a overgrowth of cucumber plants here. Again, cucumbers will vine up and hopefully come up and over and dangle down, so I can pick them that way. They won't starve the ground of moisture and, shadow, and then let them get yellow and die quickly and too much moisture. And then 2 rows of green beans. I started green beans last year, but they got so viney, but I didn't have anything for them to grow on. And so they were growing, and they did not, they produced, but they didn't produce well enough to really get a good meal out of them. Of course, over here you can see my neighbor has a great garden too. They did that last year, and they had green beans that were 24 to 36 inches long hanging down off their back porch. So that is pretty neat. And then, let's see here. Now, of course, my onions. These are more the yellow onions. over here we have some berries. I've got a sunshine blueberry, a pink lemonade blueberry. I'm going to be supporting these soon with some trellises. And then a blackberry plant. And right now I'll go ahead and pick that just so it doesn't tear it up too much, but it is producing. These are all three producing. They'll take a couple of years to produce well, but they're doing okay now. And then I've got a grape plant that I have to replant. It didn't take, so it's not a big deal, but this is well producing this year. I didn't do any peppers, not for any particular reason why I didn't, but peppers they are well producing here. We have a perfect amount of heat, but I didn't want to not have anything to do with them again. I planted peppers last year, and I've got too many jars of stuff that I will never use, and I've tried to give them away, but it's one of those things that people either want or they don't want, and it's going to take up more room in my garden if I'm not going to be eating them. So this garden is, I forgot to mention that, 24 by 16. My neighbor's is 20 by 45 or 50. And then the neighbor right behind me here, his entire backyard on the other side of that fence is a giant walk-through garden, which is very cool. I like my backyard, so I cordoned off this much of it to be my urban garden. This is something that's extremely important. I wish more people would do it. Kind of reminds you of the old days when people were making victory gardens, planting their own food, canning, self-sustainability, and I think we should get back to that. Urban gardening is something that's extremely important. It teaches kids skills, and it's being self-sustainable is an extremely important task and an important trade to have. And so many people have lost that because the grocery stores are right there, and you can get what you want when you have it, when you want it, for the most part. I wish I had chickens and goats and sheep and everything else, but I'm not looking for a barnyard in my backyard. So the other thing, I built a couple of these bee houses just to see if they'll attract anything. This is out of cedar. I have no idea if it'll work, but it's one of those things. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it's alright. Hopefully something will take. I just want to attract the bees to here so I can give them a place to live. Yeah, so that's my garden and a quick review for this year. I'll do more stuff on this once it starts producing well and everything, but just wanted to kind of, get you guys caught up as to what's happening in the urban garden. It's something that's important. I think more people should do it. So anyways, you guys need to keep calm and carry on. Stay safe, stay dry. If you're in the tornado area, stay aware, get prepared. See you later.